2 years ago, some unhappy T1 fans sent a truck to their team's headquarters with messages on it lambasting the org for what they felt was a gross mismanagement of the team at the time. Recently, this past week, they've started doing it again. And all of this comes at a time when T1 have been asking fans, even those with good intentions, to please stay away from players' houses. It's another bizarre T1 story. Let's get into it. Alright then, just before we talk about T1, it's time to remind you guys that we are so excruciatingly close to 2 million subscribers. If you're watching this and you've thought about subscribing but you've never quite got round to it, please consider subscribing. We are so close now and you could help us get there. Thanks. Okay, so a few weeks ago I shared the news that Faker was suing some of his toxic fans for leaving him malicious images and comments online. On July 19th, Faker's legal team, Apex Law, spoke to press in South Korea to announce they had filed a lawsuit against those who have written malicious comments against Faker online. Faker's lawyers described the content he'd been sent as unspeakably foul. But in the past, T1 has been subjected to behavior which can be better categorized as just weird. In that video, I touched on one famous example of this. There was an incident in which some T1 fans circled around the headquarters of SKT, the parent company of T1, to protest, among other things, the potential hiring of new team management. The message board on their truck lambasted T1 for hiring famed league coach and personality LS, who they described as a coach who would cause public controversy. At the time, this specific stunt felt like a bit of a one-off. We've seen fans in Korea do some pretty strange things when criticizing their teams, especially T1 fans, but nothing quite like this. Well, last week I definitely wondered if people had been digging up old pictures from that event when I saw images being circulated that looked extremely similar to the ones from 2020, but no, it's happened again. On August 4th, angry T1 fans once again hired an LED truck to protest about T1's coaching staff. This time it stood in front of the T1 building and then moved on towards Lowell Park, the theatre where the regular season LCK games are played ahead of T1's match against Hanwha Life esports.
And this is the truck outside Lowell Park. People are taking pictures of it. I don't know what it says. But the truck is just parked on the road outside Lowell Park, I guess. It's in here.
Invent Global translated the various images on display. One read, "Incompetent head coach, relegation team coach, admitted lack of ability. The solution is to sign a coach that has experience winning worlds. The 7 years of glory made by SKT fans leave from 3 years of incompetence." Another message said, "Appoint a high-level former player coaching staff that the T1 players deserve. Performance going backward, unqualified coaches who don't even prepare for matches. We've had enough." There was also, "Players spend time analyzing the other team while coaches play friendly games when the league is in progress. Who is the coach?" And finally, "We don't need an incompetent coaching staff that doesn't even know the draft. Sign proven former player coaches now." Clearly this is all a bit vague if you're only just learning about it, so what exactly are these fans unhappy about with T1's coaches? Well, last month, T1's largest Korean fan community shared an open letter to T1 on a site called DC Inside, which is not too dissimilar to Reddit. And part of it was aimed specifically at Moment, one of the team's coaches. They criticized him for having only previously played and coached in lower divisions, including a quote, dishonorable demotion as coach of Jin Air Green Wings, where the team finished their 29 season with a famous 1 win and 35 loss record. Discussing more recent events, the letter addressed T1's loss to RNG at MSI 2022 finals. They described his pick and ban strategy as, quote, advantage donating, and that not only did he let down 2 million fans in the process, but that his pick and ban strategy's instability has not improved since then. Honestly, I could keep going here. Large portions of this open letter were dedicated to just ripping into Moment, demanding he answers their questions, and suggesting that he's incapable of getting them to Worlds this year. Head coach Polt didn't escape criticism either, of course, in this letter. Polt has been catching flack from some T1 fans since he was hired back in 2020. In fact, he was a sizable part of the reason that unhappy T1 fans sent the original truck to the SKT headquarters the first time. The T1 head coach was once a StarCraft 2 pro back in the day before moving into the world of teamfight tactics. Clearly this guy knows strategy, but some T1 fans couldn't accept a coach with little to no experience in League of Legends. And to be honest, they haven't really got off his back about it since, despite the team's resurgence over the past year that he has directly overseen. One word you'll notice that comes up a lot in criticism of T1's coaching staff by fans is worlds. It's a really big deal for them. Now, some of you guys may already know I'm a TSM fan, and honestly, these days I'm happy to just even make playoffs. I don't have a very high bar at all at the moment. But for T1 fans, it's a bit different. With 3 Worlds titles and 2 MSI titles under their belt, T1 fans have, rightly or wrongly, come to expect a different pedigree from their team. Granted, it's been a fair few years since they won either of those tournaments, but no team has been able to surpass their international trophy count since, and T1 fans would like to keep it that way. The monstrous record-breaking spring split they just had hasn't been enough to keep the critics at bay. Faker and his 4 extremely talented young teammates should have been able to silence any haters after not losing a single series to any other Korean team for the first half of 2022. Many teams would be happy with that, but it just ain't Worlds, I guess. So the first time these T1 fans sent these message boards was back in 2020. The second time was on August 4th, and then as I was looking into that, it happened again on August 7th. The trucks had similar messages to before, as translated by Inven Global. This one read, "There's no need for incompetent coaches that don't even know how to draft. Appoint former player coaches that have already proven themselves. Performance going backward, unqualified coaches who don't even prepare for matches. We've had enough." At this point, I just want to remind everyone that T1 are currently 14-2 in the LCK. In fact, those 2 losses are the only domestic LCK losses they've had all year so far. They've definitely not looked as dominant as they were in spring, but yeah, I think that's an important piece of context to keep in mind. Another message read, "Scarecrow head coach Polt / sabotaging moment, take responsibility and resign." Another said, "Incompetent head coach, relegation team coach, admitted lack of ability. The solution is to sign a coach that has experience winning Worlds. The 7 years of glory made by SKT, fans leave from 3 years of incompetence." The notion of hiring coaches that specifically have experience of winning Worlds is something that comes up a lot in these stunts and open letters to T1. T1 CEO Joe Marsh addressed this directly last week, saying 100 fans wasted money on a truck. They don't speak for the other 1 million fans. You failed to mention we had Worlds winning coaches in 2020 and 2021. One didn't make Worlds and the other was replaced mid-season. Just thought the full context would be helpful to the readers. Like I touched on before, demanding a coach that has literally taken home the greatest trophy League of Legends has to offer might seem a little crazy to fans of other teams. But this minority of T1 fans, and they are a minority, expect nothing less than the absolute best for T1. To me, it kind of feels like the elephant in the room might be their legendary former coach, Kkoma. This guy oversaw the team's golden era. Some give him as much credit as Faker himself for T1's success over those years. He was an absolute cornerstone for them, and then he left to go and coach their rivals, Damwon Gaming, and yeah, it feels like some T1 fans never really got over his departure. Look, there really is some unhinged fan behavior going on in South Korea's League of Legends scene at the moment. I talked about it extensively in Faker's lawsuit video. And while I don't want to diminish any criticisms of these message board trucks, they do feel slightly more bizarre than abusive. We did have some more serious news from T1 just yesterday, where they asked fans who were waiting around at their headquarters and players' houses to keep their distance and respect their privacy. They asked fans to not go to the players' houses at all and asked them to limit contact with the players because of COVID and in order to create a safe fan/player culture. So, the message board trucks, are they going to work? I doubt it. Are they the tip of a much uglier iceberg of T1's fandom? Perhaps. Only time will tell. In an interview with Korean outlet Osun, translated by Mr. Rumor on Twitter, Faker himself addressed the message board trucks, saying, "Whatever fans do, it starts from the love towards the team. Everyone in T1 should do harder to repay the love the fans give us. I will do my best for the fans." One thing I'm interested to see is what happens after Worlds. If T1 wins it, and that's not completely unrealistic, will the weird fan behavior calm down? If they lose it, will we see more of these message board trucks, or perhaps a protest that's even more intense? Something tells me this isn't the end of them. It's interesting because in esports, it feels really weird that you have fans making these demands. It's fairly common in at least English football. Fan bases will make demands of their owners, or they will straight up call for the owners to just leave or to sell the club. They truly believe that like the club belongs to the fans and any owners or coaches are just temporary custodians. But in esports, it's just like, whoa, just sit back and watch it, right? Like,